Okay, thank you for joining Fast Track to Blockchain and openIDL. We'll be getting started here in just a moment. Welcome, and thank you for spending about 30 minutes of your time today to learn a bit about openIDL and explore getting started with the technology and discovering what opportunities openIDL might have in store for the industry and for your own organization. Today, we'll cover a few things, starting with an introduction to openIDL, the regulatory reporting solution for the property casualty industry that leverages blockchain for privacy, efficiency, and trust. Understanding who we are and why we're here is critical to understanding openIDL, how AAIS and IBM approach the challenge with clear purpose and a vision of how things could work for our industry. We've been at this for over a year and a half, so we'll provide an update of where we are and what challenges we've solved for, and review the major features of openIDL, why we say we think we've solved the issues around data privacy. This is one of the claims we invite you to test as part of your invitation to the first industry test drive of openIDL. We invite you to see for yourself and see if these claims are holding true. We've already received a few questions, and we'll make sure to review them, along with outlining the resources and next steps that you'll need to find out more about openIDL and AAIS and participate in the openIDL industry test drive. By way of starting the introductions, my name is Truman Esmond, and I'm the Vice President of Solutions and Partnerships at AAIS. I also serve as the technical lead and chair for the Applications Governance Committee for openIDL, and I'm here to help you get acquainted with openIDL, starting with AAIS, your trusted advisory organization. If you're new to P&C insurance, or maybe not one that works with forms typically, the American Association of Insurance Services may not be a familiar organization to you. AAIS is the property casualty industry's only national, not-for-profit advisory organization governed by its member companies. Since being established in 1936, AAIS serves over 700 member insurers across all 50 states, leveraging over 35 insurance programs and growing. AAIS is licensed by each and every state and is subject to the market conduct review, just like an insurer. AAIS has a limited antitrust exemption set in state law, important to sharing networks and critical to our roles as a statistical agent, rating bureau, and advisory organization. As a statistical agent, we collect data from insurers, anonymize that data, summarize it, and aggregate it for regulatory reporting, so regulators have an idea of what's fair and happening in their market. As a rating bureau, we leverage that data as well as additional information to develop industry loss costs as for market and regulatory reference, so they understand what is happening for loss trends in their market and in their coverage areas. As an advisory organization, we leverage that data as well as additional resources to build insurance programs, the forms, manuals, rating plans, and other support tools, and file those programs and maintain them in each state so that our member companies can quickly leverage, customize, either a little bit or a lot, and take those programs to market. As an intermediary to the industry, assisting regulators in understanding insurance markets and trends in their jurisdictions, as well as assisting insurers in supporting risk transfer programs and compliance activities, AAIS is uniquely positioned to leverage blockchain and do our job far better, potentially creating the roadmap to disrupt ourselves through openIDL. IBM, you're probably familiar with if you're near or on this planet, and as IBM quickly recognized these characteristics and how they so well align with enterprise blockchain. And as leaders in blockchain development, AAIS recognized IBM's as a natural partner, leveraging their experience, and so far it's working very well, as you'll find out here shortly. Blockchain, as you may have heard said, is a team sport. You need to rely on other participants to do their jobs, and it takes unique perspective and patience to bring the stakeholders together, like a complex free-fall maneuver. Bertrand Portier, CTO of insurance for IBM's Global Business Services and IBM Distinguished Engineer, has been with us from the outset, helping us to get the best possible results, and will join us shortly to dig into the architecture and openIDL in a box. Joan Zurkovich is Senior Vice President of Operations, and she joined AAIS a little over 7 years ago and has shepherded our transformation to a modern advisory organization. She's been the executive sponsor of openIDL initiative within AAIS and chairs the Technology Governance Committee, through which all changes must go through to openIDL and to which the other committees report. Before joining AAIS, Joan was recognized in insurance as one of the Elite 8 back in 2006 for technical leadership. And prior to her insurance career, Joan was an early member of the Internet Engineering Task Force, the IETF, the organization that brought public access to the internet out of the defense industry. So thanks, Joan, for that. Also wanted to point out that Joan understands teamwork, literally being on the image defining it that you see here at about 2 o'clock in that picture in the outermost ring. She also understands the pressure to deliver in free fall. Joan will walk us through the vision and principles that guided the formation of openIDL and brought the community together. Thanks, Joan.
Thank you, Truman. AAIS, as a national advisory organization, serves the needs of the entire property and casualty insurance industry. We serve the smallest state-based mutual companies as well as the largest multinational carriers. We also serve the state regulators that license us in all 50 states to collect data on their behalf and to use that for regulatory reporting, as well as to use that data for our own product development, which we then file in all 50 states. As AAIS looks at product development going forward, and we understand that we need new types of data on emerging risks, we need more granular data. That data is not available in the traditional statistical plans that we have today, and so we need to look at collecting data differently in the future. In working with our member carriers on obtaining new types of data, they express concerns around the security of their data and the ability to trust where that data is housed and how it is used once it leaves their own data resource centers. We also learned that the data is not meeting the needs of the regulators, and increasingly they're issuing data calls to obtain data directly from the largest carriers to answer policy questions or questions that come from their legislature. So we have a system for collecting data that clearly is not meeting the needs of the key stakeholders, the regulators, the carriers, and AAIS as an advisory organization. We also knew that we could not solve this problem by ourselves, and we needed to bring all of the stakeholders together to find a new solution. We chose to host a design thinking session to do just that. We brought together all of the key stakeholders to talk about the value of regulatory reporting, the pain points that exist today, and how we might change the system going forward to make it better. As we looked at our options for solving this problem and looked at existing database technologies, we quickly determined that we could not solve the problems of data security and trust using these existing technologies. But we did explore blockchain technologies and decided as a group that this solution may provide the security and trust needed to move forward. AAIS then agreed to develop a prototype of a new regulatory reporting system based on blockchain technologies, and we did that, which we now call the openIDL. Looking for the solution, the technical solution for the openIDL, we knew that it had to be affordable and technology that is accessible by our smallest carriers. We also knew that the technology needed to be scalable so that it could run for our largest carriers and integrate well within their larger architectures and technical systems. We also knew that the solution needed to come from a trusted source, one that was respected in the technical communities, had a lot of participation in its development, its testing, and its enhancements going forward. So with those key criteria, it became very obvious to us early on that our best solutions would reside in the open source community. And with that, we turned to the Linux Foundation with Hyperledger Fabric as their blockchain platform. Hyperledger Fabric is a technology that is being created by some of the largest organizations in the world, thousands of developers. It's being tested in a wide variety of environments, and it is proven technology that is scalable for even the largest of blockchain implementations. We also needed the ability to run the openIDL in a multi-cloud environment. All of our carriers have their own configurations, from on-premises to private cloud providers to moving some into cloud providers such as the IBM Cloud or AWS, and we needed to have our system run in their environment right from the beginning. So open source, scalable, and multi-cloud are at the heart of why we selected the Hyperledger Fabric and many of the open source tools that we then configured into the openIDL platform. We were able to stand up the openIDL in about a 3-month period of time based on these open source technologies. And with the first experience with the blockchain platform, we learned quite a few things, and we made some changes to that architecture so that now we believe we have a truly scalable production quality platform for regulatory reporting. Solving the technical problem, however, is only half of what we're faced with a blockchain network. It is a network, and it requires the participation of all the stakeholders going forward to make sure that the growth and enhancement of the network is meeting the priorities of the members. In order to do that, we have formed a 501c6 not-for-profit openIDL, and we have a working group configuration for how we operate that allows all of our members to participate in building the openIDL going forward. It's based on design thinking. We hold quarterly design thinking sessions to make sure that our next round of development will be on target for our members. And then all of the development takes place in an agile development environment so that we release working code on a quarterly basis for the evaluation of our members to make sure we're on track. And then we are committed to the open source standards and processes that have existed in 2 of the largest consortia in the world, the Internet Engineering Task Force and the Linux Foundation. These 2 organizations have been operating for years with a technical governance structure and working groups that has been highly successful, and we've incorporated this into the openIDL as well. We have 2 areas of focus. One is the regulatory reporting working groups chaired by Robin Westcott, and the insurance industry applications working group chaired by Truman Esmond. So with that, I will turn it over to Truman so he can tell you more about the openIDL architecture and technology.
Thanks, Joan. You can see how principle and purpose allowed openIDL to focus and deliver quickly, including getting the right people in the room. So far, over 24 insurers and non-insurer companies were joined by commissioners and staff from 12 states as well as the NAIC to develop and evolve openIDL into where we are today. That focus allowed the group to work through some of the challenges that we immediately recognized, as many others do, when founding a blockchain network, if not when actually working with real data streams and running into those practical concerns that different members need to address. From the start, and even kind of built into the technology, are some fundamental challenges. Distributed means sharing, which is not an attractive concept to most data owners and certainly not in insurance. Immutability as well as sharing means issues with privacy and GDPR just to start. Scalability is a challenge when the system effectively replicates data across an expanding network where everybody carries everybody else's data. How are our smaller members supposed to bear that weight of the entire industry? Insurance supports industries and experiences that run the entire gamut, just within P&C, not to mention beyond and into life and health and other areas. As a regulated industry, among many regulated industries that require highly detailed and conformant transactions, transparency and trust quickly emerges as the key component, and there's no compromise. But it's important to define how far that trust must go and where to start. As Joan mentioned through design thinking, that's where our business and operational stakeholders, as well as technologists, the team came up with several features over those last 18 months, delivered every quarter, and as Joan mentioned, that has resulted in critical milestones in getting us to this point. First one is the Harmonized data store. This is a private data repository, standard in structure, trusted in content, because it's your data, in your control, in your environment. A Harmonized data store is touched by interaction patterns. These are transparent queries made of reusable code, immutably stored on the ledger, and completely optional for any data owner to engage. openIDL is already being pushed beyond the scope of AAIS into other jurisdictions, insurance sectors, and other industries. To support this and engage a broader community, openIDL is now an independent organization separate from AAIS, but also a 501c6 not-for-profit membership association with an accountable, open, and community-driven governance model stewarded by AAIS and founding members at the outset. openIDL now contains AAIS's regulatory reporting data model, the comprehensive definition of the data required to meet regulatory reporting obligations for insurers. The power comes from its association and relationship to both the existing statistical data reporting streams and strategic enterprise warehouse models due to AAIS's strategic licensing of the IBM Industry Information Warehouse Model, the data modeling standard used by most of the largest insurers and informed by decades of experience. This allows for strategic alignment of data, so any future mapping you have to do is the last time you need to do it, and your data becomes a highly usable, purposeful, and quantifiable asset. openIDL has recently completed a thorough technical evaluation by a very large insurer, and a pending report has passed and is deemed fit for service. Now, openIDL is an accessible, collaborative, and scalable solution for data privacy, control, and interoperability, supporting the insurance industry, regulators, and stakeholders they serve. I'd like to invite Bertrand to walk through the technical architecture and take a peek under the hood at openIDL in a box to illustrate how we deliver and how you can leverage these features. Bertrand, please take it away.
Thank you, Truman. Now, I want to spend a few minutes on the openIDL architecture and the openIDL box offering. On the left-hand side here, you see the openIDL architecture overview diagram. In this example, we have carrier number 1 in blue, carrier number 2, another one in blue at the bottom left, and then a multi-carrier environment on the top right, as well as the analytics environment that, for example, is controlled by AAIS to answer a data call. So the boxes represent spheres of control. So carrier number 1 on the top left have control over their own environment, their own data, their own software components for openIDL in a box. That's really important, and that's based on a blockchain distributed architecture. So you see we have the blockchain network that is the glue between the different environments, and then we offer controls to each of the participants as part of the architecture. The other thing that's important about the architecture is that it's based on open source software. So for example, we use Hyperledger Fabric as the core blockchain technology. We use Apache NiFi for data transformations, MongoDB for data store, and OpenShift as a way to truly support multi-cloud. And multi-cloud is really critical for openIDL, and we know that depending on who you are and who your cloud service providers are, we really want for you to be able to deploy those components in your cloud of choice, including on-premise if necessary. So what ends up happening on the openIDL network is that, for example, carrier number 1 is going to be running on AWS, carrier number 2 on Azure, and number 3 on IBM Cloud. Now, openIDL in a box is an offering. It is a supported offering. So once you deploy it, it is supported, and you get support for it. And it is packaged as an IBM services engagement. And during the engagement, we will follow specific processes, procedures, methods, etc., to get you stood up into the stand up your components, map your data, connect you to the openIDL network, and basically onboard you to be ready to participate in openIDL applications. And the first one here, of course, is the data core and the regulatory reporting application. Now, if we look inside the box, what do we have? Right, in addition to those services engagement components, we have basically a set of software components. And these include the IBM blockchain platform component. So these are your Hyperledger Fabric, like the peer, the ability to deploy smart contracts. We make use also of channels, private data collections, etc. So all of these are part of what's in the box. Then we have the application on top of it, which is for business users to interact as part of the data call in this case. So regulatory reporting team will log into the application, will consent to data call, see reports, etc. via an application that is also part of the box. And then, last but not least, of course, is all of these data components, right? The ability for you to connect to your existing data environment, transform data, verify the quality of the data, and get that data into the harmonized data format that the rest of the network understands, and getting that data ready off-chain in what we call the harmonized data store. So that data store and all of these data capabilities are also part of the box. So at a high level, this is what the architecture and the box are all about. And now I will hand it back over to Truman.
Thanks, Bertrand. Now that we've had a look under the hood, let's talk about taking this thing on the road. Introducing the first openIDL industry test drive. You're invited. At the outset, we talked about how openIDL is a team sport. That is, we can't succeed or get the best result and certainly won't be able to impact our industry broadly without ensuring participation across these different groups. AAIS and IBM, along with our community of folks who have helped us get this far, would like to invite you to help us prove and improve openIDL through a coordinated open evaluation using homeowners' data as an example and cause of loss as a report to illustrate how data is ingested, protected, queried, and returned in a straightforward data call example from a regulator. This test supports 3 organization types: insurance carriers, regulators, and AAIS, who play the roles of data owner, requester, or intermediary or governance body, respectively. The requester is someone looking for insider information, the regulator or business partner or customer. AAIS serves an evolving role as the licensed intermediary today, but in the future it might be one of many different competitive connection points, not just to regulators, but to other industries, leveraging the same common framework. Data owners are fairly self-explanatory. As an owner of data, establishing a node to keep their data private on the openIDL network. The openIDL Smart Peer provides a great opportunity for hands-on experience with proven technologies that are driving the platforms of our future. Gain experience and exposure to cloud, Kubernetes deployment, blockchain, and Hyperledger Fabric, along with the IBM blockchain platform as a management console for many future enterprise communities in which you participate. Of course, you'll gain a deep understanding of openIDL, including the architecture, data flows, and a deeper dive into the features and governance that we just touched on today. So let's hit it. Starting next Monday, November 18th, we'll be kicking off a 3-calendar-week sprint for the test drive. The first week, we'll be hosting a series of webinars and live videos and introducing resources to help you through getting started, learning the architecture, installing your first node, and walking through the life cycle of a data call. The second week is Thanksgiving, so we'll take a break, but invite you to continue with self-paced learning and leveraging the resources available through the test. Third week is Delivery Week. We'll close new applications for the test that Monday after the holiday, and we'll have online office hours for at least 1 hour, Monday through Wednesday that week. Thursday, December 5th, after the close of business, the exact time will be determined as part of the development of the data call. The data call will execute, and AAIS will assemble metrics and finalize the resulting report. That Friday, we'll have a short webinar to celebrate and review the initial findings and metrics of the data call with the assembled participants. We'll reveal the completed report to participants as soon as it's published, but we'll present it to the rest of the industry at the assembled regulators on December 10th, on the last day of the NAIC winter meeting in Austin, Texas. There's 2 ways to participate in the industry test drive. You can ride along for free, attending online sessions, reviewing resources, watching videos to guide your own self-paced or coordinated learning, or with an actual test drive, standing up an openIDL peer and walking through firsthand the entire life cycle, guided by AAIS and IBM over the 3 weeks. The test drive is less than $2,000 per participating team, which could be an organization, individual, enterprise, or group of students. It's expected to involve about 10 hours or so of additional time on top of the 6 hours or so of videos. Perhaps a little bit more if you're less familiar with the core technologies, and that does include some scheduled meeting time with AAIS and IBM in order to get your peer verified and credentialed to join the trusted demonstration openIDL network. Because there is some hands-on time involved by AAIS and IBM staff, we have limited seats available for those wanting to do the full test drive. So please register early. If you can provide some insights as to your goals, we're excited to help you explore openIDL. We are prioritizing committed property and casualty insurance stakeholders as they are able to go live today, but welcome all participants of different stripes and types to join openIDL and begin learning and informing the features we build next that may support your areas of interest. If you have an idea that you'd like to explore within openIDL, please don't hesitate to reach out, and we'll do our best to find a mechanism for you to participate. Also take this moment to mention we do have the 3 working groups going, actually 4 working groups growing, including reinsurance, flood, auto, homeowners. We're looking forward to participation in those as well. Before we wrap up, let's take a second and review what we learned today. Hopefully you've got a better understanding of openIDL, the regulatory reporting solution for property casualty insurance that leverages blockchain for privacy, efficiency, and trust. Understanding a bit more of what AAIS does and our role in the industry, along with the vision and principles and processes that leverage the empathy across stakeholders, and what we were able to deliver in a relatively short period of time. Today, with several of the challenges to blockchain overcome and with the proven maturity of openIDL in a box ready for long-term support, we're starting the industry test drive, and we're hoping you're ready to help us determine if we did solve data privacy or what else we might need to do to realize trust across our industry. We've been capturing questions throughout during the chat, and we are compiling them to get you answers either individually and as participants in the test as soon as we can. And we hope posting helpful questions for the benefit of others. We did get a few natural questions that we can hit before we even go today. First one, how much is it to run an openIDL node for the test or in production? Well, we've tried to make it as affordable as possible, and in order to do so, it does require an IBM cloud account, and there's 2 cost functions in the $2,000 I mentioned before. There's a $1,000 fee to participate in the test drive if selected, and there's another expected to be less than $1,000 in total through IBM cloud services for the blockchain platform and Kubernetes software as a services over the course of the test. For production environments, cloud costs are going to vary by the usage, data, volume, and enterprise requirements, additional services that might be there, and can certainly work with AAIS and IBM to get specific quotes for your needs on your use case. How technical do you need to be to participate? As mentioned for the ride-along, not at all. It's a great opportunity for both users technical and non-technical to learn about the technology and how it might apply, get a general understanding of where it might be very beneficial in different use cases within a company, across organizations and different networks. If you're going to do a test drive, actually stand up a node. You should have resources with some deploying a cloud resource, understanding network technology and some basic things. There's references to self-paced education. We certainly welcome anybody at any level to give it a try. It just may take a little bit longer if you're doing more education. If you're not a carrier or a regulator, you definitely can participate. We'd like to get a short description of your interest to make sure we can provide a good experience for you and that the industry test drive does serve your purposes. We also want to make sure we don't disrupt the test and are able to ensure a good experience for those who are the primary users of the test, namely the homeowners who are using this as an actual use case. We've often heard already just some initial introductions that it does seem pretty easy. How hard is it really to get into production? We've obviously helped the test drive easier by predefining some of the steps, like providing demonstration data in order to help get into the tooling and the technology and start providing some experience. Onboarding itself, actually standing up a node, ingesting production data, integrating it into a production environment, is largely a function of how well you know your own data and how well your industry supports modern technology, the modern technology, or how it is integrated into your enterprise. If you already have an IBM cloud, if you already are working in Kubernetes, things can become dramatically easier, and it may not be much harder than standing up the node in the industry test drive as well. So as we conclude, I'd like to leave you with some helpful links to sign up for the industry test drive, as well as where to learn more about AAIS, IBM, and of course openIDL, and invite you to please contact me or your friendly IBM account representative for more information and to learn more about getting linked up with openIDL. Thank you again for your time today, and we look forward to working with you. Have a great day. Cheers.